today's video, we're going to take you for a walk around our property. We're starting on the south side, a side yard that we have since, recording this, fenced in. When we moved in, we realized, or we knew, that the dogs didn't have a secure area to romp and roam. It's not a large area, but it's better than what we've had, which is just leash walking and brick patio. So our plans are to level it out, landscape it, remove that fence right there that connects to the patio, and just give them an area that they can, get out some of their energy and be outside with us without being on the patio constantly. This area right here, on the other side of this fence, it's about another 1/2 to 3/4 acres that belongs to our neighbor. He uses it really as a dumping ground and to chop wood, so he has about another 20 acres that we hope maybe one day in the future to purchase, but for now, we've got enough on our plate. So going around front, you'll see this is the first area of the driveway that really needs to be repaired, but that is not on our priority list. As you'll see, we've got plenty to keep us busy. So when we moved in, this front yard was full of trees, and unfortunately, they were not healthy trees. As you'll see here shortly, in fact, one of them fell across the street during a storm. We kept the black walnut that you see right there because it offers some shade, and we have our security cameras there. But yeah, this is where one of the probably, I would say, 60 to 80 foot tall pines fell across the street, and it was just chaos that day. So when that fell, there was another pine of equal size right next to it. We just went ahead and had that cut down as well. We're hoping to, over time, add some more trees, smaller, less invasive with their roots. Fruit trees. We've talked about peach trees, apricot trees, maybe some figs. Who knows? But this front yard will be totally different. These random blueberry bushes in the middle of the yard will be gone. We did have the two pine trees. We had those stumps ground, as well as a magnolia tree that you'll see in a minute that was right in front of the house and destroyed the walkway leading up to the house with its roots. So yeah, when we moved in, it was beautiful in the listing pictures, but we tore out all of the foundation plants. They were ratty and tattered and diseased and just not in good shape. So I know it looks hideous now, but it's always got to get worse before it gets better. There you see the magnolia tree in that picture I've inserted. It was surrounded by ivy. It was an absolute mess. It was making a mess of the roof, the yard, like I said, the walkway. So yeah, we had that stump ground. There you can see where the walkway was damaged, just over years of neglect and the roots coming up through it and the ivy making its way across it. Right here is another pine tree that we had removed, along with some very diseased crepe myrtles. And you're also getting a lovely view of our trash pile. One thing we've learned since moving here is that unlike Memphis, you can't just put your trash on the street and have the city pick it up. You have to pay for it. So we are getting us a big load, and we're just going to have it hauled away all at once and just live with it until it's gone. So over to the north side of the house, you can kind of see there's some timbers there that I guess created a raised bed at one point. They're rotten. They've got to come out. I plan on making this. I know it looks sunny right now, but this is fairly early in the morning. but by midday it's covered in shade. So it'll be a nice little shade garden. You can also see over on the right-hand side where we've had some gravel installed. Right after that was when the tree fell and we had to let neighbors use our wraparound drive just to get down the street, and people drove through it and just destroyed it. So now it's just coming up with weeds, yada, yada, yada. So here is the side entrance. This is our main entrance that we use. Funny story, that plant right there, that was also a black walnut at one point, apparently. Now it just has suckers that grow out of it, and I let it grow for a while, then I cut them back. I'll figure out what I'm going to do with that eventually. Coming up on our, what we call our she shed, it's an outbuilding. And it's got a septic tank attached to it, and we couldn't figure out why. And come to find out, the previous owner was a cheesemaker and apparently was going to turn this into a cheese shop, which never got done. But so we have a backyard full of field lines and a septic tank that are rarely used or not used. We haven't figured that out yet. So we put in some planter beds around the shed, and it did not occur to me at the time, as you'll see right if you look at the roof, there's no gutters. So everything that's in that bed right there just gets absolutely pummeled with rain. Plus, take into account that I did not take into consideration the fact that, this is a very shady spot. Until we get all of the trees around it removed. There's 3 or 4 large pines that we want to have removed because white pines are absolutely useless for anything other than making a mess. So for right now, it's just sitting there waiting for its future life. This raised garden bed, and we'll get into this more in future videos. This was put in not long after we moved in. Because one of the main things I wanted was a vegetable garden. And, getting older, we didn't want, this is a huge slope, number one. This backyard is very sloped. But, getting older, bending over, we thought, let's do some raised beds. Well, the guy we had build this, who has a very large business in this town, completely screwed us on this. It looks nothing like it did when he finished it. We've had to add all of these supports around the side. He didn't fill it. We feel like he might have hit one of the field lines putting it in. Who knows? Anyway, so we're not having the best of luck with it this year, but we have gotten 25 pounds of potatoes out of half those grow bags so far. So we're happy with that. This is the year we're just taking what we can get. All right, skip up to the patio and the reason for buying this house. Pool. That's all I wanted was a pool. I grew up in an apartment community, but we had a pool. And I'm a water baby. I could spend 24/7 in a pool. One thing we have discovered, though, is that they're expensive and a lot of trouble. But to me, absolutely worth it. We've not even, made a dent into what we want to do to this pool, and we've already spent a ridiculous amount of money. However, we have recently taken over the maintenance of it from the pool maintenance company because they were just absolutely horrible and costing us about $400 a month that we didn't need to spend. So clearly you can see it needs a lot of work. But, we're doing what we can right now to make it comfortable. We've hung lights, and we rarely sit up here now, but we envision, using it more during the fall, and when the weather starts to get cooler, and when we get it the way we want it. Let's just be realistic. Until something is the way you want it, you're probably not going to use it quite as much. You'll see that the patio also used to have a tree. We think it was a cherry tree. Regardless, it was rotting from the inside. And we found that out when we had it cut down. The whole center of the trunk was just rotten. And so now it is an herb, an annual bed. Um, it's so funny looking back at this, recorded 3 weeks ago, how much everything in there has grown just since then. I'm not real sure what David's showing you here, other than we've strung some lights just to make it a little nicer when we're sitting outside at night, so we don't have to have on the bright patio lights. We had this door installed a couple of months ago. It's not finished. Clearly, we've got still a lot of trimming to do. My brother-in-law installed that for us, and those stairs, because otherwise the only way to get to the patio was to walk all the way around to the middle entrance. But there you go. There's an overview of the property. You can see what it looked like in the listing pictures. And let me tell you, listing pictures, they're nice, but they're not reality. It looked beautiful, but it was a mess. You can see how close that magnolia tree was to the house. You can see all these just random bushes in the yard, the ivy. It was pretty to look at, but it wasn't what it looks like in the pictures. Especially the backyard. It was a mess. Um, But, and it doesn't look any better right now, but it will. And I'm about to show you some examples of that. So this was the house that we moved from in Memphis. This is the listing picture. I was like, oh, it's a perfect little cottage. It's exactly what I wanted at the time. Quickly turned into this. A sewer line that needed replaced that just, that was $10,000 down the drain and turned the house to this. So, we had it, I got a plan in place. We had it painted. We had the porch redone. We had the brick wall resurfaced. And we installed a walkway. And, it was, I look back and it was overwhelming at the time. And it was scary. And I thought, oh, this is never going to look like anything. But it did. And by the time we left, oh, it was fabulous. It was the perfect little cottage garden. Um, Now, granted, we've got a much larger area to work with, but we'll get there. Um, like I said, it's overwhelming. It's frustrating. The long weekends, where you don't see much change, and the hours after work, and you're just constantly exhausted. But then, I look back even at this video at how much different things look now. Just, I think that was recorded May 25th, less than a month, and how much things have changed and improved just since then. Now, true, David recorded that on the, you know, one of the worst days of messes, but regardless, it'll get there. We got there before, we'll get there again. So keep the faith. If you're overwhelmed just like we are, just know that you can do it. It is possible. Baby steps, just go in with the plan and don't give up. So we appreciate you watching, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.